I'm Joanna Simpson here at Risk Minds International in London. Joining me now is Adam Ennamli, Chief Risk Officer at the General Bank of Canada. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Just tell me a little bit about cyber risk is a non-traditional risk for CROs, but what are the particular challenges of managing it?
Sure. So the first challenge with cyber risk is the fact that it's dynamic. So you have a very high risk, very critical risk. That's not going to change for the time being, but you have a lot of underlying trends that keep renewing themselves. Before you had social engineering, now you have AI. And those are very important trends that you need to keep tab on. The second challenge that you have with cyber risk is that it's very difficult to predict. It doesn't follow the normal statistical models that you would see with financial risks. So that makes it very difficult to anticipate from a likelihood perspective, from an impact perspective, but also from a velocity perspective. So as a CRO, you end up trying to predict what you don't know. And it's a very difficult and expensive exercise. And finally, I would say that cyber risk has a lot of wide perimeter, if you will. It's a very wide perimeter, very large universe where it transcends all the supply chains and value chains that you might know. It might go from an industry to the other, from a value chain to the other, and that makes, again, the impacts very difficult to manage and to anticipate in general.
And how have mitigation strategies and lines of defense evolved as we start to understand the nature of cyber attacks better?
So let's travel in time a little bit. It started with reinforcing technologies, very basic, right? So I have a good antivirus, I have good firewalls, I focus on my network security, so I should be good, right? And then you started to see the emergence of social engineering and its success. People started getting phished. You start to see a lot of incidents, up to 80% being actually because of humans who clicked on the wrong link. And then we started to shift the mitigations towards behavioral management. Because you can have the best technology in the world, if people don't take precautions, if they're not risk adverse, you're actually going to have incidents and you're going to have data loss. And now we're seeing a return to that technology aspect because of the sophistication of advanced techniques that are being used. So even if people are wary, a deepfake can basically trump them very quickly. So now we have those strategies as a CRO or CISO that encompass the three aspects. You have the basics, so you have MFA, you have the right awareness trainings, you have the board discussions, then you have the technology, right? You need to have the right technology, high value technologies, basically between early adopter and early majority spectrum, where a lot of automation can be done, a lot of early detection can be done, saving a lot of time and costs. And then finally, you have proactivity. You need to simulate. You need to be able to understand what's going to happen if this event materializes or that event materializes. So tabletop exercises are a must, and you need to never be afraid of saying what if, basically.
And it can be challenging going from working in silos to collaborating across the business. What have you learned from your experiences and what still needs addressing?
Sure. So I will recognize the learnings or wins actually that we have had in the last few years is that security now is recognized as a business risk. So you see more and more focus on that. There's no question on whether we need to be secure, is how much we need to be secure. So I'll recognize that win. But of course, as you said, there are still some pain points that we need to work through. First one, I would say being the culture, right? The how much culture. I think it's important to have board discussions, but is the board really on board, right? And that's a key aspect that you need to encourage through the right discussions, the right tabletop exercises, and the right composition in your board. The second aspect is language. I'm still surprised when I have conversations with CISO about how technical they go in their explanations and how fast they can lose an audience. And the audience is key because what you're trying to do is drive the right culture. And finally, I would say it's really the macro dimension that cybersecurity has taken. It's no longer a local problem. It's no longer a company problem. Now it's a national security problem. And we need to recognize that and deal with it accordingly. Cyber threat now is being used in cyber warfare between countries, between supranational organizations, and we need to drive the right level of awareness beyond just the corporates.
Adam Ennamli, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.